Hi guys, Jordan from B&B Campers. Just going to do your handover video on your Knaus. It's a Traveller, Knaus Traveller. I believe. Just double check that. I'll give you the wrong van. There you go, Knaus Traveller. It's based on a 2003 Fiat Ducato. And we'll start on the bonnet just here. You've got your engine battery on the left hand side. Just to the right of that, you've got your brake fluid here with a reservoir attached to the servo just behind it. You've then got your power steering fluid in this reservoir just here at the front. Engine oil gets topped up through here, and the engine oil dipstick is the red topped one just there. You've also got your engine coolant over here, which you check when it's cold, and your washer fluid reservoir is here. If you want to get to your air filter, that's inside this little box. You just undo these 3 tabs, and your chassis plate is the Knaus tablet group there. So the original Fiat chassis plate is this one here, and it says 3.4, but your uprated Knaus one there is 3.5. So that's what all that stuff is there. All looking in good condition under here. No sort of serious rust or anything like that around the battery box or anything like that. The battery looks like quite a new battery. It's a Varta, so you shouldn't have any issues with that, with it starting or anything like that. Inside the passenger door, there's not much to show you apart from this brown box just here is all of your paperwork for the vehicle. A few other bits and pieces in the so your original rear view mirror and the box for the front of your Sony stereo. The reason you got the rear view mirror is because obviously you can't actually see anything out the back anymore, so you know, they just take them off quite a lot of the time and don't use them. Your fuel filler point is this one just here at the front near side, and you need your ignition key to go in there to open that up. You've got refillable gas flow system in here. So the actual refillable point is this bit just here. So you basically just go to any petrol station that has LPG written on the sign, and you can fill it up from there. The inlet points, this one and this one. And so with this system, it's a slightly different system. So if you want to turn the gas on, the only one that will work at that specific time, so they'll both fill up when you top them up, but when you run out of the one that's got this regulator on it, you will have to take this little nut off here and pop it onto the next one. So at the moment, because the regulator's on this bottle, I've only turned this one on. If I turn both of them on, this is what would happen. You would literally just get LPG coming straight out, well, gas coming straight out from there. So leave this one off and only use the one that's got the regulator on it. You've also got your freshwater inlet point inside the gas locker, which is just a typical Knaus thing. It does say there, so obviously the vehicle's German, so it does say the original one there is in German, but it does tell you what it is in English as well. So that's your freshwater inlet point inside there. And that is about it for the gas locker. You've then got your toilet cassette locker. It's a Thetford cassette, and it's a freshwater flush, which you can tell by this little pipe just here. So there's no separate flush fluid to worry about as part of that system. To get the cassette out, lift up on the yellow tab and pull the whole thing towards you. You'll then be able to take the entire thing out. The only things you need to know really is that you empty it out from here. So you take this cap off and empty it out. When you're actually physically emptying it out, you need to hold down the little yellow button just there. And if you can get a hold of some silicone spray or silicone lubricant, keep on top of lubricating that black rubber seal there. Other than that, that is about it. Make sure you push it all the way in so that bit goes over its little hinge there. And that is it. This locker just here is quite important because you've got access to your leisure battery. So that will slide out if you want it to, if you undo that little bit there. But that is your leisure battery inside there. You have also got some bits and pieces that the previous owner have left for you if you'd like to use it. The awning winder is there, and this is your original jack and wheel brace kit just there as well. So we'll just close that over. At the back, we've got the bike rack. The camera's going to start playing up now. We've got the bike rack and the original ladder to get up onto the roof, if you wanted to do that. And obviously the tow bar as well. On this offside now, we've got in this rear locker, which really, to be fair, because it's quite a short motorhome, it's difficult to get space for a wardrobe, so they've basically put it in here instead. So you can use this section at the back here as your wardrobe. There is a pole just there for clothes. But otherwise, we've got your fresh your external water point, so that's hot and cold. I'm trying to sort the camera out, sorry. Yeah, so fresh and hot and cold fresh water point just there. So that's your external point, which locks over if you do it properly. There you go. So that's all that's in there really. Your Truma vent just here, this is for your boiler. So I've got the boiler lit up on gas at the moment, and we can tell that because there's hot air coming out from underneath, and also there's a bit of condensation building up under there as well. Next to that, we've got your hookup point. So we've got the hookup in at the moment, and that basically just gives us access to anything that works off the mains power. So any main sockets, battery charger, etc. all need to have that plugged in to use those. These two vents just here are for your fridge. So if you've got the fridge lit up on gas, you can put your hand over the top right hand side of this vent just here, and because I've got it on gas at the moment, I can feel lots of nice hot air coming out through the top of that, which just proves to me that it's actually working and on. You got an external gas point just here, so you just pop the little cap off, and then you have external gas there as soon as you put your gas bottle on. And I'll just show you through the cab. So the cab is pretty straightforward. There's not a huge amount of crazy stuff to go through because it is on the previous chassis to the newest one. Well, not the newest one, but the second newest one. Anyway, so yeah, they are a bit more basic, but also a lot more kind of rugged and reliable as sort of dashboards and things go. So you got the 5-speed manual gearbox. Reverse is lift up on the back here, over and up to the top left. You've got your lights and indicators on the left hand stalk, washers and wipers on the right. You've got electric adjusting mirrors, so you just basically select which mirror you want to move and then use this as a little joystick to move the mirror around wherever you want it to go. Your bonnet release is just down here, and the rest of it really is just kind of standard car bits, where you've got your heater controls, hazard lights in the middle there, and your singled in Sony head unit. So it's all pretty straightforward. We've never had any issues with this vehicle whatsoever. It's really nice and reliable. We don't tend to get any problems with, to be honest, with any of the Fiat Ducatos or Peugeot Boxers or anything like that. So yeah, that's about it for the cab really. So because there's a little bit of space just here, I can just about climb through there. You have got this little screen just here which does come down and shut off the cab if you want to at night. The seats do have to go forwards a little bit in order to use it, but that is there if you want to. Again, a typical Knaus thing. If the radio is plugged in, which at the moment it's not, we've pushed it out for the moment. If it is plugged in, you can then press this little button back here, which will basically power the stereo via your leisure battery. So when you turn that switch on, the leisure battery then powers the stereo, and then you'll get the sound coming out through these rear speakers, and it essentially means that you can have the radio on without the engine running. So that, again, another typical Knaus thing, but that's what that is just there. All right, so as soon as you come in the habitation door, we've got your control panel just above the door. At the moment, I've got the control panel switched on. I've got the lights on. Well, basically all three of these are just for lights. So I come on, press all three of those on, and then that essentially just gives you access to using all of the lights in the whole vehicle. Now obviously there are individual switches for all of the lights. Not all of the lights will be on, but most of them will be when you first turn that button on. But you can go around and switch on and off all of the lights you want to get it, working, as you like it. If there's some lights that you think are too bright or some that are too dim, blah, 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 you can go through and make it your own. I will get to why I've opened all this stuff up in a minute, but we'll do the control panel first. So that's how you just turn all these bits on, just these 4 buttons on here, and that'll just turn everything on basically. If you want to check your battery voltages, press on those and it'll come up with the voltages there. So number 1 should be your engine battery voltage. Okay, when I press on that, it's coming up here giving us a level reading. So it's coming up saying absolutely full to the top, same as 2. So 2 should be the leisure battery. If they're the other way around, I apologise, but I'm pretty certain it will be 1 engine, 2 leisure, but obviously there it doesn't actually tell me which one's which. In the manual it should come up with that, but either way, when your hookup's plugged in, essentially it should be sending the power through to here. Well, it is sending the power through to here, and then just basically this is your power supply section. So the power gets sent to there from the leisure battery and the hookup, and then just gets split off where it needs to go to from there. So when that hookup's plugged in, the power gets sent to there, and I can imagine because of those battery voltages, I would imagine that it's actually charging up your engine battery as well as the leisure. So that's this right hand side. The left hand side here is all to do with water. So you've got wastewater level, so pretty much empty, and freshwater level, so that is empty. Okay, so that's your 2 water levels, and that's the left hand scale there that you want to look at for that. This little button just here turns on your pump. And at the moment, because there's no fresh water in the tank, I'm not going to turn the pump on because, well, you just shouldn't really. If there's no water in the tank, you shouldn't turn your pump on. If your pump is switched on when there's no water in the tank, nothing will happen really. So I'll do it now, look. So nothing's going to happen apart from the pump is just going to run on and run on and run on until it eventually burns out. Okay, so without any water in the tank, there's no way for that pump to get to any kind of pressure. If the pump doesn't get to pressure, like I said, it will not turn itself off, and that's when you run into problems where it sort of burns itself out and you have to replace it. So if you want to use this vehicle, when you get the vehicle, you basically need to fill the water tank up in the gas locker there, like I showed you, and then you can go ahead and start using it. Before you start using the boiler as well, just on this same topic of fresh water and stuff like that, before you start using the boiler, you need to make sure, obviously assuming that you've already filled the water tank up, you need to make sure of 2 things. You need to make sure that in the locker down here where the boiler is, you've got a little drain valve down here. So it does say it in front of it, boiler drain valve. So if I lift this up, now any water that goes to that boiler will stay inside of it. All right, if it's in the down position, it means that any water that goes to it will just drain directly out onto the floor. Now the reason they've got those, it's that one there is actually the newer style one where it's an electronic automatic dropout valve. So what that means basically is when it gets down to about sort of 4 or 5 degrees, the boiler will automatically drop all the water out from inside of it onto the ground. And the reason it does that is because all of the little pipes and things inside of the boiler, and all the ones outside the boiler actually, if they are full of water and they freeze, they will break and you'll have to get a new boiler, because that is just what happens. If that water does freeze up in there, you'll need a new boiler because it will all crack, and so that is why you've got the automatic dropout valve. So you need to make sure that's in the upright position so that water will fill this up. Once you've done that, or once you've made sure of that, you can then come over to here, turn your pump switch on, and then just come over to your tap here and pull the cold side and wait for the water to come through nice and clearly, and then turn it around to the hot side and do the same. So because I know for a fact, because that boiler drain valve was down and so all the water's, that boiler's empty, because I know that for a fact, I know that when you fill the van up with water when you get it, and when you turn the pump on, when you try and pull the hot water through here, absolutely nothing will come through for about a minute. Okay, and so it's until that water starts coming through here, that boiler's full up. So I don't want to bore you with it, but the way the reason that actually works, or the way that works, is the fresh water tank basically supplies everything that has fresh water. So if you try and pull the cold water through the tap there, if you've got fresh water in the tank and the pump's on, it'll basically just draw straight from there, go straight to there. Whereas with the hot side, whether it be this tap or the shower or whatever, the hot tap has to go from the tank through the pump and then through the boiler first before it will go to any tap around the vehicle. So unless that boiler is full, you won't get any water coming through the hot tap. All right, so that's why the only way to test if the boiler's full or not is to make sure that you've got water coming through the hot tap. All right, so that's the control panel and that's all the water system. So you've got a 3-burner hob. There's no ignition on the hob, so you will need an igniter of some description to light any 3 of those up. You've then also got your grill and oven. Let me just see if there is an ignition. No. So the same on that. You will need the same lighter or clicker or whatever to light either of those 2 up. Push in and round to the right for the grill. Push in and round to the left for the oven. The grill is the one at the top and the oven is down the back at the bottom. Okay, so I'll run you through these bits now. I will go through the fridge and the boiler in a minute as well, but I'll run you through these bits. So, like I sort of briefly mentioned, this is your sort of power supply unit section. So again, what that means really is any power that gets sent from anything, so the hookup or the leisure battery, it gets sent straight to here and then just gets diverted as and where it needs to go. So you've got fuses just here, which I know that they're in German, but they do tell you what they're for. So you can kind of work it out. I mean, the red one there says pump next to it, all that sort of stuff. So you can work it out really, but again, if not, you can just sort of translate it or whatever. If you do get any problems with anything, you know, you come back to us and we'll sort it for you, but that is where the fuses are, so it is normally quite a simple fix. This bit down here, I believe, is your actual PSU. That will have a charger inside of it as well. So basically when you put the hookup cable in, anything that's you know, has 240 volt power going to it will come from here, and that's why you've got those big multi-plugs on the top of it and things like that. But at the moment there's absolutely no issues with anything electrically related, and in fact when Billy came through in here and did the habitation check, it absolutely flew through. So you know, really well kept vehicle. But yeah, so there's nothing down here that you have to do. The only thing that there is this battery isolator, and so if you wanted to leave the vehicle for a good, you know, a fair amount of time and you didn't want your battery to drain out, you can just come under here and switch that off, and then when you next come to the vehicle, the battery should still be at the very top. Anything at all that has you know, so all of these lights and things like that, they won't be drawing any power when you turn them off at the switch over there. But there will still be, you know, it's a motorhome and there are lots of electrical appliances in the vehicle. There will still be things that draw a tiny little bit of power from the batteries. So if you leave, you know, if you left the car for 3 months, you might come back to it and it may well start. It'd be unlikely, but it might. But really, if you come back to a motorhome after 3 months and you haven't turned an isolator switch off there, you're pretty unlikely to have any power in the batteries. So turning that switch off there just gives you the option to just completely isolate it and go from there. So that's what all of that stuff does. Again, I'm sorry that the camera's gone all blurry. Sometimes it just does it and I can't really help it. Right, so the fridge is really simple. Inside you have got a freezer compartment at the top, but the rest of it is just standard fridge. And this little bit here is your driving kind of catch there, so the door doesn't fly open. The position where it is at the moment, where it's facing down, is lit up on gas. So you can see the little gas flame symbol just there. Gas flame symbol there. The one above it is a 12 volt symbol, so that's the one you need to have it on when your engine's running and you're driving. And the top one there is your hookup. So because at the moment I've got the gas on and the hookup plugged in, I could choose either gas or hookup. So if I switch up to there now, at the moment now, the hookup is actually cooling the fridge down by the electric element. So if I turn it off all the way up to the top, that then basically just turns the entire fridge off and it's not cooling down whatsoever. So the way that you need to use these is you need to cool the fridge down before you leave to go wherever you're going to go. So if you're going to go on holiday tomorrow morning, I would definitely recommend going out the night before, cooling the fridge down either via the electric element or the gas, and then when you come back out to the vehicle in the morning to drive off, all you need to do then is select 12 volt, and that'll keep the fridge cold for when you're driving. The 12 volt one there, like I said, will only work when your engine's physically running, and the reason for that is you've got what's called a split charger. Any decent motorhome brand has got a split charger, and essentially what that means is when you start the engine up, the alternator, like any car or van, charges up your engine battery. But with a motorhome, or any decent brand motorhome, like I said, you've got a split charger where that power that gets sent from the alternator to the engine battery also gets sent to the leisure battery and to the fridge. So all the time that you're driving, you can actually keep the fridge cool via the 12 volt, but that will not work if your engine's not running. All right. So like I said, either mains electric or gas before you leave, and then switch over to the 12 volt when you drive. To actually light it up on the gas, we go all the way down to the bottom. Straight away you'll notice, if you were actually in person you'd be able to hear it as well, but you get this little light flashing, which is basically your igniter. So when the igniter switch there is flashing, it means that it's not lit and the igniter is trying to light up the gas, but it won't do anything at all until I press this button in. If you watch, I pressed it in and the light stopped flashing straight away. So the light stopping flashing like that means that the flame is lit and the gas is switched on. If that light carries on flashing, it means that the flame's gone out and you need to try again, basically. But that is literally it. As long as you get out down here on gas and you light it up in the exact way that I've just done there, you're lit up on gas. You can also go to the back and put your hand over that vent that I showed you outside. But that is it. So turning it off all the way up to the top, and that is completely off. Inside the wardrobe, you've got a couple of trip switches at the back there. So this is your mains stuff again. So if you plug your mains cable in and then realise that there was no 240 volt power anywhere, have a little look in here and make sure they're in the upright position. I think that's about it really for this wardrobe. You've got extra cushions there and your TV aerial and booster. Okay, so at the back here you've got a 240 volt switch and a 12 volt switch, and then we've also got your boiler control. So it's a Trumatic combi boiler, which is what the C stands for. It's not a combi in the sense that you combi at home. It doesn't give you instant hot water or anything like that, but it does heat the water up that's inside of it or heat the van up. So that's exactly why I was telling you, you have to make sure that the boiler's full of water before you try and light it up, because if you try and light it up with no water inside of it to heat up the water, it's essentially the exact same thing as boiling an empty kettle, and you know, it's really not a good idea. You're basically just heating up nothing and it'll overheat. So at the moment it is completely off because our little symbol here is 0, so that means off. If I had water in the boiler, I could go up 1 or up 2, and that would give us either 40 or 60 degrees of hot water. All right, so that's hot water only, on gas only. If I go back down to the middle, that's off. If I go down 1, where it was just a minute ago, that is heating only, on gas. And if I go down 2, it's heating and hot water at the same time. So that's how the boiler works. The thermostat in the middle is basically just for the heating side of things. So if you're in a real hurry to heat the van up, you could turn it right the way up to 9. If not, leave it about the middle, about 5. Bathroom is the last thing really to show you. So the toilet itself, I've showed you the toilet cassette outside. It is a really simple system. Because you've got the fresh water flush, you will need to have a little bit of water in the tank in order to flush the toilet, just so that you know that. But yeah, basically, to flush the toilet, open this lever here, and that will drain anything out that's inside the bowl there into the cassette, and close it back over. And to actually flush it, I'll just pull the lid round there, press the blue button and that'll pump the water around. It does tell you on here as well. But yeah, it doesn't get much simpler than that. There is a light inside here, up there. I'm not sure whether... Oh, there you go. There's a switch. So that's that. The sink and the shower, I will just say, I very rarely actually talk about them because they are just so simple. It's literally just a case of lifting the tap up, turning it hot or cold. Yeah, I mean, the drain there and the drain inside there will just go straight to the waste tank. I just remembered I didn't show you the waste drain off actually, so I will show you that before we're finished. So yeah, so I think that's about all I can show you. Obviously you've got the 6 belts in this vehicle. Being 2003 is actually before the law got changed in 2007 for the full... I mean, these ones here are totally legal because they've got the 3-point belts and all that sort of stuff. But the ones in the front here are just lap belts. But again, it's 2003, so it was way before the law changed for the 3-pointers. So that's why they're there. Okay, so I'll just quickly show you where that waste drain is, and then we should be finished in the video. So the waste drain, if we just get down here on this near side, the actual drain off point is there and the cap is on it at the moment, so you can unscrew that cap. But basically, if you look under here, it says zu and off, and that's obviously basically just German for on and off. Lifting it up like that should turn it off and stop it draining out, and turning it down like this drains the waste out. So I think I've pretty much covered everything. If there's anything else you want me to go through or anything you think I've missed out, just let us know. But otherwise, I look forward to seeing you soon to collect your van. Thanks very much.